get this recorded here. So, all right, welcome. Thank you guys for joining us for the first year of our Pursuing Careers in Healthcare and Bioscience event. We're really excited to partner with a number of really great education and workforce partners across Kalispell and the Flathead Valley here to bring you information about some of the coolest careers in healthcare and bioscience that are available right now here in Kalispell. My name is Kate Lufkin. I am the Director of Education and Workforce Development for the Kalispell Chamber of Commerce. I'm your moderator for this discussion today about becoming a medical laboratory technologist. And with us, we have Don Cummings and Terry Cortola. Is that right? Cortola, I was so close. And I will let the two of them introduce themselves. But both of them are professionals, experienced as medical laboratory technologists and also instructors. So really great to get two different perspectives here. So John, let's go ahead and start with you. Tell us who you are and a little bit of your background and how you came into the MLT profession.
My name is Dawn Cummings, and I am currently the point of care technical coordinator at the hospital, and I also teach for the MLT program at FVCC. I sort of grew up a Navy brat, so I've been traveling all over the place, but ended up in Bozeman, Montana for high school. I ended up going to MSU there and taking a few microbiology classes and really loving it. We ended up going to the Peace Corps for a couple years, and then when I came back, somehow I found out that you could actually do microbiology in hospitals all over the state of Montana, and I wanted to stay in Montana. So I went to an MLS program in Spokane called Sacred Heart. There I became a licensed medical laboratory scientist and then got a job at KRMC. So here I am. I'm sort of kind of a picture of multiple different departments that you can work in. I worked as a generalist on nights, a generalist on evenings, and then moved into chemistry as a specialist, and eventually had the ability to move into the point of care world where I do a lot of quality management with the nurses. So it means that I get to be off the bench, wandering around the hospital, wandering to all the clinics, and helping them meet all their requirements for laboratory testing outside the laboratory.
Wonderful. Terry?
I'm Terry Catrola, and I am the program director for the MLT program at FVCC. In fact, I was instrumental in creating the program. I live near Austin, Texas, and this shows you what technology can do because I can do this job from home. I became interested in medical laboratory science in high school. They had a program called Health Sciences where we shadowed nurses, we shadowed doctors, we shadowed the lab people, and the lab, oh my God, the lab, the smells, the personnel, just the environment just excited me so much that I decided that's what I wanted to do because I don't like working with people, patients long-term. If you're a people person, unfortunately, this probably isn't for you because we have very little contact with patients, except perhaps to draw their blood. So I'm passionate about my field. I graduated from University of Houston at Clear Lake. I'm certified as a medical laboratory scientist, and I worked in the transfusion service for many, many years. Transfusion service is where we prepare blood products for transfusion to patients. And this is one of the more stressful jobs if you're in acute care because you get a massively bleeding patient come in. Oh my gosh, the adrenaline goes and you're getting everything out the door as fast as possible. I thrive on stress. So this was the perfect department for me.
Awesome. I just want to jump in here because now that we're grabbing some more people joining us, if you have any questions at any point during today's little panel presentation, please go ahead and drop those in the Q&A box that you'll find at the bottom of your screen. And then we will get to those as they come in. First though, Terry, give us a little bit of a description of just what an average day as an MLT looks like. I'm sure that no 2 days are exactly the same in that role, especially as you just described it, but give us a little bit of a taste of what being an MLT looks like, and start to finish, Monday through Friday, or whatever your schedule looks like. Give us an idea of what that means.
So your day will depend upon where you work, whether you're working in a clinic, an acute care hospital, a tiny hospital. But pretty much what we do is we come in and we make sure that all of our equipment is working properly. And that takes time because we need to verify the results that the machines will produce. We also check temperatures because all of our kits, all of our reagents, all of our supplies have a specific temperature by which they must be stored. So then in acute care, we have the morning run where the phlebotomist, a team of phlebotomists, goes up to the floor and draws the blood that the doctors have ordered tests for. It comes to the lab, and then we busily process all the samples. We look at results, we call acute results to the floor, to the nurse in charge of that patient. And then, we do have breaks, we do have lunch. And in the smaller hospitals, you can have downtime to do preventive maintenance on your instruments, because if you don't maintain that instrument, just like changing the oil in your car, you have to do certain things at certain times to also ensure quality. So our job throughout the day, no matter where you are, is all about turning out really accurate results, because a doctor is going to use that information to treat patients. And you don't want to be responsible for a patient being treated in the wrong way. So is that pretty
Sure.
much what you wanted?
Yeah, Dawn, is there anything that you want to add to that about an average day in the life?
Well, yes, in addition to processing specimens, you're also going to be talking to doctors, talking to nurses on the phone. You're kind of their resource because most medical professionals aren't going to understand the workings of the laboratory as well as you do. And so you're a huge resource for the rest of the hospital. So,
That actually leads really great into our next question here. So one of the things that I'm hearing you say, based on that, is that communication is a really important skill to have as an MLT. Can
yes.
you tell us a little bit more about maybe other skills that would be critical to being successful in this role, but then also skills maybe that a high school student might have that would make them good at a role like this?
Well, as far as good skills for this sort of role, I would say number one would be attention to detail. So like Terry was saying, being a laboratory professional basically means your primary job is to turn out the right results for the right patient so that your doctors and nurses can give them the right care. And they really rely on you for that. So you want someone who has great attention to detail, that they're good communicators, that they are able to pivot from task to task. I know they say it's kind of impossible to be a multitasker, and I agree with that a little bit, but you really are monitoring multiple different tests at one time. And so you're going to have to be able to change quickly. And then that leads into another important factor is the medical field is changing all the time. So you want to be a learner for your whole life. So not just high school or college, you'll basically be learning new skills, new tests, new everything for your entire career.
Great.
I would like to add a few.
Sure.
So you also have to have excellent critical thinking. It's not just that the numbers come off this machine. Are these numbers accurate? Do they make sense? How do they compare to previous results? You also have to recognize your limitations. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you don't know what that cell is under the microscope, I have repeatedly always said, can I borrow your eyes? Because sometimes there's things that I don't, and my colleague does. And so we work together. So recognizing your limitations, the ability to work independently. Once you go through your training at your place of employment, then you are in a department and you are queen or king of your world. And you get to run the equipment and process the samples. And I hate to say this, but one of the jobs as a teenager that helped me the most was being a waitress, because getting all these orders and remembering where they go and all the multitasking. So don't think that these jobs that you have as a high school student or a teenager won't benefit you in the future, because I'm here to say they do.
That's actually, I love that. I was a waitress as well, and it's helped me in so many different roles throughout my life. Yeah, I definitely think one of the most important jobs. That actually also leads really, really well into a next question here. You touched a little bit about working independently, but what kinds of decisions does somebody like this make on a daily basis, and how do they impact other professionals that you work with? What level of autonomy do you have? Yeah, basically, how does this person work with a team?
Well, my take on that would be you are sort of the person in your department, or one of two or three at the very max I've seen. But you guys do work kind of as a team, so you always have someone to ask questions, especially if you're a newer tech, because a lot of the knowledge that you accumulate over years and years of seeing every possible sample type, every possible error, that really helps you. And so it's a little bit difficult in the beginning just because you don't have the experience. So often you have someone where, like Terry said, you can borrow their eyes or their ears or have them help you out a little bit, because you are primarily responsible for making sure that your equipment is running optimally, um, and that and not just equipment as in machines, but like your stains, your media. If you're a microbiologist, you have to make sure that everything is in a prime condition, and that you know how to tell if something's kind of going out of whack.
Great. Terry, anything to add on that one?
So in working as a team, it's very important not only to be civil to your colleagues in the laboratory, but also whoever you encounter on the phone or in person. They may be having a bad day and they're under stress and they're taking it out on you. It's very important that you learn how to bring the situation down using calm tones. And sometimes it's hard. We want to get reactive and yell back at them or call them a name, but we can't do that. We have to be in control. We are professionals. And that is our biggest role, is when we are interacting with other departments, that they view us as professionals.
That's a really great comment. And I'm sure that sometimes you guys see, well, I know you guys see all sorts of things in this role, but sometimes I think what's most fun about hearing from a panel is, instead of sort of just this high level of what a career is really getting into what each of you guys have experienced. Maybe could each of you guys tell us what's like some of the craziest things you guys have seen, or your most memorable moments, or your favorite day that you've had at work that's stuck in your brain? Just sort of really, really bring that in for the students so that they can kind of understand that, every day is can be very different.
There's so
Terry,
many.
you're laughing.
And some I can't share with you but my funniest recollection is that we had a 2 or 3-year-old needing urinalysis. And so they were in the lobby to the hospital, well, in the laboratory in the hospital. And he was doing the pee-pee dance. He's just jumping around. And so I brought out the container and directed them to the restroom. And the mom said, he can't wait. So right there in the middle of the room, he drops his britches and he pees in the cup. Unfortunately, the cup wasn't big enough and it's overflowing. So, that's in a very, very small setting. But again, to this day, I still laugh about that.
Dawn, what about you? Anything that's super memorable about the MLT experience?
I've always enjoyed micro. I've never gotten the chance in Kalispell to work in micro. I did when I was in Libby. And I remember one evening shift, micro just received a dirty diaper from a patient, and inside was this huge Ascaris worm. It looked like a giant noodle. And the child that had this bowel movement with this huge worm in it had named the worm Noodle. And so the microbiology department decided that they wanted to keep it as a pet and see how long they could keep it alive. They actually kept it in a cup in their incubator for days and days, and we would all come by and see it.
Oh my gosh.
Huge.
We make our own fun, right?
Sounds like it. Oh, I'm glad that neither of those things happen on a daily basis, though, for you guys in this role. Hey, we have a question here from a student. Is the knowledge learned mostly through experiences, or are there certain prerequisites that you need? And that's a great topic. I think, Terry, we talked about this a little bit before we jumped online here, but tell us about the pathway of starting your education, towards becoming an MLT, and then what does that mean in your transition to work?
So the first thing you need to do is analyze the degree plan. And I know some of you can do courses for dual credit. So if we have a 1+1 plan, the first year is knocking out all the core curriculum, your English, your math, your science. So if you can do dual credit and knock some of those out by the time you get into college, that would be wonderful. Then in the second year, which is the professional year of the program, then you start taking your MLT courses, and each course builds on the next one to where by the time you're through with the training, and also you go to the hospital and actually work alongside MLTs and MLSs to actually get hands-on experience doing the job, which is, I say it's icing on the cake. You learn all this stuff and we talk and talk and talk, but then to go out to clinical and actually practice what you've been taught is wonderful. Then upon completion of the program, you walk across the stage, get your degree, walk out the door and get a job. There is such a tremendous shortage of laboratory personnel. And of course, now we're in the limelight because of all the COVID. Laboratory professionals are the ones who do the COVID testing. Laboratory professionals are the ones who have developed the different tests and techniques to diagnose this horrid disease. So I'm hoping that answers your question. If not, you can chat away again.
And to add to that, the 4 MLT students that they have right now, I think 3 of them have already been offered jobs.
That's great.
And they're not done. They still have semesters to go.
That's really great. It's super promising to still be in school and know that you're employed. Right.
Or they actually are employed. 2 of them are current employees and they work around
Wonderful.
their schedule. So
I think that that's something that's really great about sort of this living and working and going to school in what's considered a rural community by most standards across the country. Although, all of us that live here know that we have a lot of really great resources that a bigger city would have, but that you can live and work and go to school, and everyone's pretty flexible about making it all work and making it all happen. That I think that a lot of places you don't get to see quite as well.
Can I interject one more point? In the first year of the program, you can take as long as you need to complete that first year. But once you come into the professional year, it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 3 or 4 for an entire year. So you need to be prepared for the professional year.
Great. Hey, there's another question here from a student. What is the most used method or equipment that you guys use daily in this career?
Well, that would depend on what department you're in. So some departments are heavily instrumentalized, like chemistry, where everything you do almost is on some sort of huge instrument. Then there are other departments that are very manual, like, for example, blood bank is only minimally instrumentalized, and micro is fairly minimally instrumentalized. And so those departments have a lot of hands-on, kind of more old-fashioned work.
Great.
And in each department, for example, there's 5 major areas of the laboratory. And in small hospitals, you may work in all. In large hospitals, you're more specialized. But hematology, where you're analyzing blood and body fluids, doing cell counts, of course, the analyzer does that, white counts, red counts. And chemistry, they do hundreds of tests on these different analyzers that it's just amazing. Then blood bank, we type and cross and prepare things for transfusion. As Dawn said, it's very manual. Urinalysis is also highly automated. You will be amazed how much information you will get by analyzing pee. And it's the sample that is most easily provided to us. And then, what am I leaving out, Dawn? Micro, which again, it is slowly coming into the 21st century with MALDI-TOF and getting some instruments in there.
And the field is highly computer specific. So they are looking for people who have great computer skills. For example, we're working on an automated interface where people just can put samples on a conveyor belt and it goes where it needs to go. So if it needs to go to hematology, they have barcode labels that have been programmed to send it to exactly the test that it needs. And then basically you have the techs who are maintaining the computerized system. And for example, now in hematology, we have camera microscopes that are set up so that it can take pictures of cells that it needs to have identified and email them to you, and then you can email them to, for example, pathologist or hematopathologist or whoever you need. So it's all very, very high level of computer usage.
Hey, Terry, just a second ago, you brought up this point, and I want to hit with this. And then again, this is probably our last question, at least from our side. Again, if you are an attendee on this and you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the Q&A box at the bottom. We probably have time for one of yours as well. And we'd love to answer any questions that you guys have. But tell us a little bit about the role that the pandemic has played on this profession. And I know that Terry, you mentioned, working specifically with COVID testing. So maybe we'll hit COVID testing, but then also, how has the pandemic played a role for this position, broad spectrum as well?
In broad spectrum, we are very stressed out because there are some techs who are doing 1,000 COVID tests a day, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, around the clock. And this has really caused most labs to set up a specialized department just for COVID testing. And it's really stressful. We don't worry about our health. In fact, we had a phlebotomist that came down with COVID, and we have to wear masks from portal to portal. And so we were all wearing masks, following, social distancing, and he drew blood from many patients. Well, and you're infectious before you show symptoms. Everybody that was exposed to him was tested, and we were negative. And that shows you, we teach you how to follow the safety guidelines to protect yourself from infectious agents, because that's what we work with a lot. In fact, I don't worry about it, because when I came into the field, AIDS, HIV was, just coming out of the woods, and that was kind of terrifying. But like I said, as long as you follow the rules and the protocols, you will be safe in this field. But COVID has really, and in the hospitals, they're having to give up rooms to COVID patients. So those patients needing elective surgeries or other types of care can't get in. So it's right now, it's stressful, but we anticipate as the vaccine rolls out and more people are protected that this will go away. Did I answer your question?
Sure. And maybe Don, jump in here as well as you see fit, but how do you think that an MLT plays a role, maybe even in supporting people through the pandemic as well? Or go ahead.
Well, we're very heavily reliant on the MLTs for help in the molecular department where they do the majority of COVID testing. COVID has really tested our ability to change and pivot as we're needed, just because the volumes are so high. The testing reagents and kits are often unavailable for periods of time. And so it's really tested us as far as being able to meet the demand with the limited resources that we might have. And the MLTs are a fantastic help, as they do a lot of the setup, a lot of the prep, and basically help the techs to make sure that they can get all the results out in a timely manner. And we've had days where we're doing 600 tests a day for COVID-19, and that's just here in Kalispell.
Wow. Okay, so we just have a minute or two left here. Terry or Don, is there any sort of last wrap-up remarks that you want to make about being an MLT, talking to students about pursuing an MLT career, anything that you want to close on?
If you're interested in science, especially like medical science, but really are a little hesitant about the patient care aspect, then medical technology is a great choice. Like Terry said, you finish your 2-year degree and you're ready for a job immediately as soon as you get your diploma. But you also have the ability to move. You could get a bachelor's degree using your credits and then move on to being an MLS or someone in a more leadership position. So there is a lot of opportunity.
And I would like to add that a lot of students will go to college and they'll get a degree in chemistry or in micro. What will you do with that degree? It's not really a marketable. Um, it is marketable, but not in the way you think. It's not that easy to find jobs. So by specializing in medical laboratory science, then you broaden your horizons, and you don't have to limit yourself to acute care. You can work in large doctors' offices. You can go out in the private sector and get into research. You can get into, there's a lot of companies hiring for quality assurance individuals or preparing these test kits. So don't just limit your thinking to dealing with acute care patients. Think of it as there's just so many pathways that things you can do with this degree.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Dawn and Terry, and then those of you guys that joined us today. As a reminder, all 12 of our career panels are currently being recorded today and will be available for you guys to review at any time. We encourage all of you guys to explore the education and training around careers in healthcare and bioscience. If you guys have any questions or looking for more career information on any of the topics today, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us at the hospital, the college, here at the Kalispell Chamber, or to your teachers, and we can point you guys all in the right direction. I hope you guys all enjoyed this presentation and your next ones as well, and we hope to see you in the healthcare and bioscience field. Thank you, the two of you guys, and really appreciate you being on the panel today.
Thank you.
You.